If you want to learn how to create doodle brushes or sketch brushes like these that you can use for drawing or even apply to live text, you're in the right place, and that's here in the Work Smarter Not Harder Dojo with me, Tony Harmer, aka the Design Ninja. I'm here in a new document, and what I want first here is the line tool. So I'm going to hit backslash on my keyboard to get that. And I want a nice straight line, so I'm going to hold down the Shift key and draw a straight line across like so. And then switch to the warp tool. Shift R will get you the warp tool. Okay, and just double click on that in the toolbox, okay, to access its options. This is where you can set the size precisely using these fields here, but it's this area down at the bottom we're after, and I've set my simplification to 30. That means it will get simplified and optimized a bit, but not too much. I'll hit OK, and then just make your way along the stroke like so. Okay, just adding just a tiny bit of variation to the line. Once you've done that, we're going to align all of those points. Okay, to do that, we're going to use the average command. Now on a Mac, that's Option Command J, Alt Control J on Windows. Okay, and it brings up the average dialog, and we're going to align these horizontally. When you do that, all of those points are snapped into line. Now, optically, it doesn't look like they are because of all the bumps in it, but trust me, they are actually perfectly aligned together. Once we've done that, what we're going to do is switch to the Reflect tool. So tap O on your keyboard to do that. Go to one of the end points, okay, hold down the Alt or Option key and click, because that sets the transformation point and brings up the dialog. Horizontal is exactly what we're after, and we want to create a copy. Now you can either click the button, which on the Mac here is down on the left, okay, or you can hold down Alt or Option and hit return, and it does that for you. Now this still looks a little bit too regular, so what we're going to do is, with the copy that's active, is just flip that along the horizontal axis, and then we get this nice, bumpy, slightly irregular line. Select both paths and then hold down Command on a Mac, Control on Windows, and tap J to join those paths together. They are now one thing, and our brush is actually ready to use. Now, I like to add a bit of variation, sometimes using the same brush. So what I'm going to do is Option drag a copy first, okay, and just scrunch that one up. So I've got a much finer line just there, but I'll start with the broad one that I made to begin with. Go to the brushes panel, okay, and then click on the plus at the bottom to create a new brush. This is going to be an art brush. So choose that, hit OK, and give it a name. Let's call this Doodle 1. Just here. Leave the width at fixed, and we can change that on each and every instance if we need to. Stretch to fit stroke length is exactly what you're after. And finally, if you want to add color to it, change the method to tints. Okay, as these are black strokes, you can ignore everything else. Hit OK, and your first brush is created. I'll just do that again for this one. So I'll add a new brush, art brush like so. I'll call this one Doodle 2. Oops-a-daisy. And again, just change the method there to tints. You can see how quick it is to create these brushes. Now I'll select the two that are on the artboard and delete them. I'll then tap B on my keyboard to get the brush tool. And as one of the brushes is selected, I can just go ahead and draw with it like so. You can see it's easy for me to create the illusion, okay, of a much more involved drawing process with this brush. And that's all fine, but what I want to do here is actually use it on some live text to create a drawn effect that is instantly modifiable. So I'll select all of those items, okay, and delete them. And then what I'm going to do is go for my type tool. So T on the keyboard to access that, and I want to make sure this is going to align to the center. Quick way to do that is Shift Command C, Shift Control C on Windows. Come onto the artboard and click. Okay, and then I'm just going to type the word scribble, all in caps like so. Now obviously if you're doing things with sort of swash type fonts, that might go a little bit crazy. Big and bold works best for this. I'll hit escape to come out of the type editor just there, okay, and back to my selection tool. And let's take a look at the text. The default appearance for text is a black fill, okay, and no stroke. Now you can see at the moment my fill is in back, so I'm just going to tap X to bring that to the front, and then hit the slash key to remove the fill. Now the text is still there, but it has no visible attribute. If you want to go into outline mode, that's Command Y, Control Y. Okay, for a moment you can see that it is still there. Come out of outline mode and back to preview, again Command Y or Control Y to do that. Make sure that the fill is behind, so I need to tap X here to take my fill to the back. All right, and then what I'm going to do is just hit the comma key on my keyboard, and that applies an attribute of solid. Okay, alternately, if you want to, you can use any other part of the interface to go ahead and choose that color. And what we'll now do is we're going to go to the brushes panel and we're going to drag our brush onto the text like so. You can see how it's applied. If you don't like it, drag a different brush onto there. Now we can also change the options of this object by clicking on the flyout just here. Go to options of selected object. All right, and I'm going to change the width just here, just to make that a bit narrower like so. See how now it's become much more subtle. And if you want, you can always use the appearance panel here, okay, to add more strokes on top of your text. All right, because that's essentially what happened. When you dragged the brush on, it created a new stroke that lives on top of the existing stroke. Okay, now we've got that, we could go ahead and re-add the fill. So if I choose this as black and keeping that highlighted, I'm going to go to the effects, come down to stylize and scribble. Okay, now we've got a range of different options in here we can explore to start off with. All right, but what I think I'm going to do here is I'm going to model this myself. So I'm going to change the stroke width here down to same as the text underneath it. So around about 0.5, I think would work pretty well just there, maybe just a little bit more than that. Let's take it up to 0.8 and see how that looks. That's not too bad. Then we can change the controls like the overlap here. So how much it colors inside and outside of the line. It's super, super sensitive, by the way. This one is, you only need to make very, very small movements. You can add a tiny bit of variation, again, really sensitive in there. And then add some things like changing the spacing, so making the spacing a bit tighter or looser, whichever meets your needs, and a little bit of variation helps to make that look more convincing. Now the great news is here is this is still completely editable text. This is just an appearance. So if I Alt drag or Option drag a copy like so, I can modify this. Let's say I wanted to change this to doodle. Okay, I'll just type that just there, hit escape. You can see instantly it has that appearance. But it's still not quite there in terms of it actually looking a bit more hand-drawn. And we could do that with some local overrides. We don't need to go ahead and expand it. All we need to do is hold down Shift and tap T on our keyboard to get the Touch Type tool. You can then go ahead and make some modifications. So click on a character. I'm going to rotate this one using the widget at the top there, like so. I'm going to select the next character here and then just use my arrow keys to nudge this closer together. like that. And again, I might just pick up another one of these D characters here and just rotate that around a little bit, just there, and bring that in. Whenever you do rotation, the box gets bigger, so the text moves further apart. And if you wanted to, you could even add a tiny bit of size variation in there as well, just by using this handle up on the top here, or indeed any of the other three handles. This one moves the text, okay, like so, but you can do that more safely, I think, with the arrow keys. And there you go. That's how you can create fab doodle brushes you can use for drawings, but also how you can apply them to live text. And we're done for now, but I'll see you next time here in the Work Smarter Not Harder dojo. See ya.